Hey guys, I'm Josh J and welcome to my video Q&A. I've been wanting to do this for a while and it's really great to have the time to set aside and have you guys ask some questions so that I can get you some answers, and I think this will just be fun. For some of you it's just a way of you get to know me a little bit better, and for others it's a way for you to kind of learn from my experience and have some questions answered that you've just been kind of searching for in terms of business and in how wedding photography all works. I think it'll be fun and hopefully a little bit insightful for you guys, so let's get to it. What is the most important marketing? How do you target the ideal client? There is no one most important marketing, I guess. The thing about marketing is that it's kind of do whatever you want. And for some, it's effective to do it one way, and for some, it's effective to do it completely different. One really important thing that I've learned from marketing, from having done marketing jobs before, as well as learning to market in my own business, is you need to understand who your ideal client is. And in order for you to do that, you need to kind of build up, I guess, what you called a profile. And basically what you need to do is you need to write down exactly who your client is, give them a name, give them a job, give them a life, what kind of income do they have, what kind of life do they live, what kind of interests do they have, and what are they looking for. And so you want to be able to meet your clients' needs, and you want to market to the people who you want to photograph and who you want to be found by. So having a clear picture of who that person is or who those group of people are is a great way to start. And basically what you need to do is anything and everything that you do in terms of putting your work out there and communicating and anything from a marketing point of view, you need to do it with that person or that people group in mind, so that everything that you put out there that's communicating in any shape or form is talking to that person or those people group. And so I find that really helpful. I spend about 2 hours doing this, just thinking through who my ideal clients are, what kind of lives do they live, what kind of interests do they have, and I've just kind of written it down. And I've given them a name, and every time I need to do anything marketing related, I think about that profile and I think about whether what I'm putting out makes sense for them and whether they will actually be interested in what I have to put out. I know so many different companies use this way. I used to market for a group that catered for mothers, and we basically had to build a profile for mums. And so we had to build a profile of an ideal mum that we wanted to cater. We needed to give her a name, we need to picture what her life looked like, how she lived, how she spent her money, and what kind of interests she had, in order for us to be able to tailor everything that we put out there for that specific person. And I do the same with my marketing for wedding photography. Do you share your office with anyone cool? I do in fact share my office with someone very cool, and I'm not in the office right now so I can't introduce you to her personally, but I work in a co-working space in a private office with another wedding photographer called Samantha Heather, and she is an incredible human being, super talented, and honestly she's just an all-around bubble of joy. And I guess the most important quality I love about her is that she's just so down to earth and real, and she's super fun to have around, so she's good value. You should go check out her work. Hey mate, I believe you use Canon glass on Sony, is that true? Any issues with it? I do in fact use a Canon glass on my Sony a7 III. I really didn't want to part with my Canon glasses when I switched over. I love my Sony, everything about it is incredible, but I know that a lot of different companies are still catching up to the capacity and the capability of a Canon glass. And I think it's really hard to find something that's as good as Canon, I would say, personally speaking. The Sigma Art Lens series has done a really good job, and they're just incredible for the price that you get. So I have 2 Sigma lenses and 2 Canon lenses. So the 2 Sigma lenses are 24mm and a 35mm, and the 2 Canon lenses are the 50 1.2 prime and the 85 1.2, and I love every single one of them. And I haven't had any issues with it. I thought maybe by using a adapter, there might be some delay in autofocus, and like some autofocus capabilities are slightly limited, especially in video and live tracking and things like that. But because I use most of my gear for photography, I haven't sensed anything wrong with it. It feels like a native lens actually when I'm focusing. So yeah, like honestly, Metabones 4 is the adapter that I use, and I'll link that in the comments below for you. Favorite place you have traveled to so far? Ooh. This is hard because I traveled to a lot of incredible places in a short period of time. So in one sense, it kind of all feels like a blur, but in another sense, they're so very distinct. So I've traveled to Iceland, Greece, California, New Zealand, UK. I would say Iceland was by far the most memorable, only because it's kind of my first ever trip that I did to go and see scenery and landscapes, and it completely blew me away. It was just beyond this world, and I completely understood the hype. Everything about the hype is true and so much more, minus the tourists, but it is a photographer's dream, a filmmaker's dream. If you love adventure, you love nature, outdoor scenery, it is heaven. Apart from that, I loved going to New Zealand. I had the pleasure of going there for work last year, and I got to bring one of my very, very good friends along with me for the ride, which was also super fun. And we just road tripped around South Island while I had a couple of shoots booked, and it was incredible. Like, New Zealand is just an amazing place. So I would say those two are the key memorable places that I've traveled to. Are you religious? Yes, I'm Christian, and I don't usually talk about it heaps. You can kind of see it in my description. I have a little cross symbol, and I don't know, maybe some people think it's just a nice looking symbol, but others actually pick up on it. And I've had a lot of clients or couples mention that they thought that I was Christian because they could just tell. I don't know. I've never really openly spoken about it on my business page or through my business, but yes, I am Christian. Best coffee in Sydney? There's a lot. There's a lot. I love coffee, and I am constantly at different cafes. My current top 3 would be Goodfella in Bella Vista. That's pretty much my second office. It's like my local, and I spent so much time there. Mecca in Alexandria, my all-time favorite to go in these past few years. Amazing breakfast, amazing atmosphere, and just good vibes all around. Thirdly, I've been loving a cafe in Manly called Rollers. They only recently opened in the last year, but it's an amazing bakehouse. They make their own croissants and pastries, and it's just a good vibe. You rock. Thank you. Thank you very much. What camera bag do you use for weddings? I am super picky about camera bags. I'm picky about backpacks in general. I don't like lugging things around that are chunky. I don't like things that feel too uncomfortable. So it took me a while, but I found a camera bag called Zkin, Z-K-I-N. I believe they are from Hong Kong. They by far have made a camera bag that works for me. I'll put up a picture for you guys. I'll also link their website in the description so you guys can go check them out. I have the Yeti backpack, and for me it's super functional. It's not too chunky. It has enough space for me to chuck a little bit of gear, hard drives. It's kind of what I carry around when I travel because it has enough space for all my gear, plus it has spare storage at top where I can kind of put my laptop, my book, stuff for the plane, change of clothes, and it doesn't feel too chunky. Do you use your own set of self-created presets or a purchased set? I use my own, which took me maybe like 3 years to develop, and kind of I'm finally in a place where I'm really comfortable with it and okay with using it all the time for anything and everything. Before that, I probably changed a lot and I tweaked a lot, and every wedding I was tweaking a little bit more. I started off by downloading a whole heap of presets from different photographers whose work I loved, and I just learned. I learned how different colors and just different ways of actually editing would give you different feelings and a vibe and a style. And I basically just kept searching and tweaking until what I kind of felt I wanted to capture and produce was what my preset looked like. And basically I have aimed for something completely in between digital and clean and modern, but also something with a little bit of a film look with a lot of grain, and something that's nostalgic and a little bit cinematic. So that's kind of the little vibe that I went for, and it took me 3 years to be able to figure out exactly where I wanted to sit with that and how I could really, just turn that into a preset, which I was super proud of and could use consistently. Basically, I think what really sparked my current preset was one of Ben Sasso's presets called the Heck Yeah presets, and I think I got the art presets. Preset number 1, I think, is what I used. I can't exactly remember the name of it, but that was pretty much what started my kind of preset journey. I loved it. I truly understood what he was going for, and he was able to just really produce the exact vision that he had in his mind of how he wanted to communicate his work, and I resonated with it. I love the colors, I love the tone, and so I just pretty much just downloaded it, used it, and learned from it, and understood, and then took whatever I could from it, and then I applied it to my current preset, the preset that I was using at the time, which has turned into my current preset now. Do you ever get writer's block, but like a photog's version? Yeah, absolutely. It's unrealistic to be a creative person and not have writer's block of any shape or form. Even harder, actually, if you have a job as a creative person, and to have constant inspiration, to be constantly motivated, to try new things, to be challenged, to grow, to put out work that feels fresh and at the same time very reflective of you, is just hard. It's a very hard thing, and no one achieves it. Absolutely no one achieves it. That's the thing. Everyone struggles, and how well you are set up kind of depends on how consistent you are. But for a creative person to actually manage any form of consistency with their work and their level of motivation and inspiration, it's super hard. So I actually face it quite often, and it's taken me, what am I, in my 8th year of shooting weddings. So it's taken me a long time to actually build up this stability in my workflow, in my creative flow, in my vision, in my identity, as a photographer, in my style, and just communicating to the right people and creating work that I'm still super proud of and happy, and something that reflects me, and for people to, pay me for that. So always challenging and always fading writer's block. Do you emulate / are inspired by any other photos? I'm gonna assume you're photographers, and yes, at the beginning I emulated anyone who I found inspiring, anyone who I was drawn to, and anyone who was producing work that I personally wanted to produce. And basically it's the only way you can learn. Everyone learns by emulating and imitating first. No one is completely original and experienced at creating their own unique work from the start. So it's just important to make sure that you are sure about who you are emulating and understanding why you're emulating them. And it's okay if you phase out of that and you find someone else too. Just don't get caught in a cycle, I would say, from my personal experience, of just imitating one person to another and just jumping from one to another and just not really finding your own feet in it all. The point of emulating is that it kind of gives you a little bit of a framework and a context to create work and to try certain styles and give you opportunities to try different things. You should learn to understand what works for you after a while, and what you like and don't like, and what you can make your own. I emulated at the start. People like James Day was an incredible photographer. He still is an incredible photographer, and his career is amazing. I used to just emulate I guess his approach and attitude towards work, yeah, that's something that I still am super encouraged by. I think India Earl was someone who I emulated a little bit when I really needed to learn how to communicate and project my persona and creative identity. She has a brilliant way of marketing herself really well, and she does it in a way that feels authentic and real and down to earth. And yeah, I just really love the way that she did it, and it just really encouraged me to just observe her and see how she worked, and even just like buying a couple of products that she put out through workshops, through guides, and just really understanding her mind and understanding how she does things. And so yeah, that's really helped me then to find my own feed in how to emulate her but make it my own and turn it into my own thing. Ben Sasso, I mentioned him in my presets. Obviously I started following him and was inspired by him. That's why I invested in his presets. I love that man. He's just a breath of fresh air. He pretty much just does whatever he wants, and he is so how do I put it? He's so submissive to the process of creating and letting art be art, and always checking in with himself to create from within himself. I just found that really inspiring, and I just love that he was just really successful and he really connected with so many people by just being himself. And I wanted to bring that into what I did as a job. I wanted to do what I did and create from within me and be very confident and just put stuff out there that was within me, and for have people to connect with that and to be celebrated. Yeah, Ben Sasso definitely emulated, I guess, his attitude and his process. Any other jobs aside from wedding photo? I've had so many jobs in my life. I'm not one of those people who can do the one thing for too long. I like change, and I like changing things up every now and again, whether it's small or every 5 to 7 years I might change something up really big, and that just keeps me feeling fresh and healthy, and it keeps me feeling like there's momentum. The worst thing for me is not feeling like there's movement and momentum. That's why it's really hard to just do the one thing over and over again for me. Being a creative person, I get to kind of try new things. When you kind of settled into work as much as I have in my style and in my branding, it's really hard to try new things. And it's really scary because you don't want to suddenly put something out there or try something just for fun and then have people be like, oh, actually, I'm not so sure about that. That's a really scary thing. But I'm learning to move past that now, and hoping that people trust me enough and understand me enough to know that I can try different things for fun, and I can put different stuff out there, and people will still not always accept it, but just still understand that I'm just being me and I'm just kind of doing something different. I've had so many jobs in my life, and yeah, even wedding photography, I won't be doing it for much longer. I know that it's kind of coming up to that, it's past the 7-year itch, and I'm just currently trying to understand and see if this makes sense for me for the future, and yeah, just open to it. And I like that I get to chop and change. I like trying different things. So yeah, I can't even count how many jobs I've had, but I've had many. Do you use a CRM? Yes, and for those who don't know what CRM is, it is Client Relations Manager. Basically, when you have lots of clients, when you have multiple people that you have to look after and keep track of, this is just a software that helps keep track of everyone in the one place. CRMs mostly offer kind of like a central hub where you can have everyone's details and info about the job that you're doing with them, and also a point where you can communicate with those clients through. I use a program called Dupsado, and they are incredible and amazing, and I've loved them. I trialed Studio Ninja for like a month or two, and it just wasn't quite there for me in terms of the aesthetics and design point of view. And while I was kind of chatting through and working out my automations and workflow. I remember James Day DM'd me and was like, hey, I see that you're doing some automation stuff, like what are you using? Because I'm just looking into something at the moment. And I said, oh, I've just been trying out Studio Ninja. What are you using? And he said, oh, I just started using Dubsado. So I checked them out and I was like, wait, actually these guys are really cool. These guys are doing what I want and providing what I needed, and they are amazing. They also actually allow you to create multiple businesses on the same subscription. And so that's handy if you are someone who's a photographer, but you wanna have separate businesses catered to different styles. Yeah, definitely check it out. I'll put them in the link description and I'll just provide my own unique link for them. Do you deliver photos physically or via online gallery? I used to deliver physically at the start. I used to do USBs, but I've been finding that really challenging because I love packaging. Like, I'm super passionate about packaging, like ridiculously passionate about packaging. And so I set myself in such a high standard to do it incredibly well. And I just knew that it just would cost so much money and it would cost so much time and effort to make sure it was done well and done consistently. And even then, after I did that, I would have to deal with potentially USBs failing and being corrupt and being damaged and clients coming back to me, and for me to have to then fork out more resources to replace the damaged ones. So I swapped over to an online gallery and it's amazing, especially because I have started doing overseas work and interstate work a lot in the past 3 or 4 years. And that means logistically, it's so much easier to deliver photos that way. And I use PicTime and they are incredible. I love you, PicTime. They are everything that I want and need. And they do everything really well. I am super happy with them, and yeah, it's just great. I find using them really good. I'll link that for you guys as well with a unique code, and I think you get discounts on the first 2 months of the trial, or you get like another whole month of trial for free. When did you know you were good at doing what you do? When people offered to pay me money to do it. How much coffee do you drink a day? I drink anywhere between 1 to 2, but never more than 2. Where is your next destination work? My next destination work is in Hawaii. I am flipping excited. I've never been, and I'm super excited. It's also a good friend's wedding as well, which just makes it all the more exciting for me. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. If you have any recommendations for Hawaii, can you link them in the comments below? Because I'm gonna be in Oahu and I need some recommendations for hikes, for some scenic places, anywhere to eat, drink, cafes, anything good. I want to write down as much as I can. How was your recent trip to New York? I loved New York. It was my first time there and I had the pleasure of photographing a friend's wedding upstate, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It is a big city and it was quite overwhelming at the start, and I really just found it a little bit too much at times, but at other times I really loved it. I would love to go back, actually. It would be pretty fun, and I would love to go back now that I know my way around a little bit and I'm a little bit familiar. Places like New York, because it's so diverse and there's so much going on, you kind of need your bearings to really enjoy it, and you need to understand where all the good things are. Well, some of you already know this. I don't really do anything touristy when I go travel, unless it's like absolutely magnificent. So I didn't do anything touristy. I wanted to go and find like the coolest bars, the coolest hotspots that the locals would go and hang out at, the cool cafes, a really good bagel shop, whatever it was that the locals knew where it was at, that's where I wanted to be at. And so it just meant for me, I had to do a little bit of digging and exploring, but it was fun. Any tips of staying motivated? Well, for me, I generally make sure that I don't burn myself out. Being a creative is a bit temperamental, especially when your work involves injecting creativity into it and you have to produce something of a creative nature or artistic nature. So the most important thing is looking after your mind and your emotional health. I would say if you are not in a good place and you're feeling burnt out and worn out, you're not going to feel very inspired or motivated to do much. And because creative people are very wired to how they feel, and they really need a good dose of motivation and inspiration to do their work well, it's just so much more important to manage yourself really well. So I would say you can stay motivated by checking in with yourself and giving yourself time to breathe. For me, letting myself be bored is one of the biggest motivators, because a human brain actually needs to feel bored before it can start being creative. And so I just make sure I put aside time to do nothing and try and think about nothing. Go for walks or sit somewhere with a nice view and just ponder until my brain kind of feels recharged and starts rolling and starts producing, and that's kind of how I stay motivated. Okay guys, that's it. Thank you for joining in on my video Q&A. Thank you to those who have asked questions. It's been really fun sharing a little bit about my life and a little bit about my work with you guys. I'll be doing some more in the future, so if there's been a question that's been on your mind or things that have come up during this video that you wanted to ask as a follow-up, please make sure that next time you get on that and you ask those questions, and it's been fun. I hope to make more videos for you guys in the future, and all those things that I've talked about, I will try and make sure that I put links in the description for you guys so you guys can go and check that out. Okay, bye!